Hello, I'm Gary Jenkins, and welcome to the Jenkins Art Studio. We have a special treat for you today. My wife, Catherine, is going to do a technique tape for you. Let's come on over here and let's see what Catherine's into. Boy, you got your palettes all laid out. Look at all the wonderful color. Gee, that's just great. Well,
where'd you find this?
What? It's my cowboy hat.
I hid it. He wasn't supposed to find it.
Yeah, because you've been making me wear all those other hats on all the shows.
We got him some new hats finally. I don't know if you've noticed, but after 17 years, he can't wear these anymore. That's what I told him.
Behind every man, there's a woman hiding his hat.
I have to hide it in a better place this time.
If you need me, I'll be right over there.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show, and yes, this is the Jenkins Art Studio. We have a brand new title, brand new shows, and I haven't been with you for 3 years now, so I'm really happy to be back, and we're going to do something really, really important today. So many times in our classes we start to paint a painting and we worry about doing a composition and getting a painting finished at the end of the day, and we really haven't learned enough of the basics and doing like technique, doing stroke work. So a lot of you ask for technique, so we're really going to zero in on technique on this show. So let's take a look at the finished one that I'm working from just to give you some idea. We're not going to worry about color today or composition or anything. It's just the strokes, and we've got some little wiggle leaves up there and some large rose leaves and some long tropical blade leaves, some twigs and some ferns and just all kinds of things. So we'll get as much of that in as we can today, and we'll just get started and see what we can do and get into it. Now, like I said, the color isn't that important today, but we'll come down to the palette and see all these beautiful colors that we have here. I have a whole bunch of colors laid out because even when I'm practicing, I like to just pick up all different colors, but it really doesn't matter what you use today. The brushes, though, are very important. These are Badger brushes. They come to a really sharp chisel point, very soft hairs, and the brushes are very important. And I'm going to just take a second and go through some of these brushes we'll be using today. This is a Badger Bright. It's a number 20. You could use just about any sizes. This is a number 18, a little smaller. And we have a 12 Filbert. This also is a Badger, and it's got rounded hairs. And we do a lot of little flowers. When we get into the flower techniques, we'll be using this quite a bit. And we have a long sable liner and maybe some little pointed, sable pointed. It's called a round. And we have some little tiny, these are also brights. They come to a sharp chiseled edge, and they're soft. They're Badger hair. And so we use all different sizes to do the different flowers. So with good brushes, you've just about got it made. I mean, it works so beautiful. So we're going to come down to the palette, and I'm going to pick up just a little medium on the brush. And the medium is used to thin down the paint a little bit. And this makes the paint flow across the surface of the canvas better. And let's dip into a little bit of, just green sienna. Green and sienna or green and crimson make a very nice, beautiful, dark foliage color. So in a lot of the paintings we do, we start out with these basic combinations to do our foliage. I'm going to pick up just a bit more medium and a little more green. Maybe I'll add a little yellow to it and just add that so you can see it a little better. And come on up to the canvas, and we're going to start and get in here real close. And we're going to start with those little wiggle leaves. And being that this has a really sharp chisel on it, you can make very fine, skinny lines. See, with this big brush, you can make tiny, fine lines. Now, when you're doing stems on a painting to add your leaves to, be careful that you don't press too heavy. This is a mistake. I'm going to show you some mistakes people make. If you press down on that brush, you will get a really wide stem. So you want to keep just up on the chiseled edge with a very light pressure when you draw the stem out, and that will keep the stem skinny. Now, we're going to press down slowly all the way down and wiggle back and forth in place, come up to the center, onto the chiseled edge, up and out. Now I'm going to do a few of these fast. and then I'm going to slow down again. Now these are what you see Gary and I put in our paintings really fast. Now see that glob of paint there? That's because I have too much paint on my brush. See all the paint up here? This is a mistake people make. I'm going to come down to the palette and I'm going to work a lot of this paint off and get it smoothed out on the brush. A lot of times when you're just learning to paint, we put too much paint on the brush. So if you work the paint off, you load the brush up, then you work the paint off the brush and get it real nice and smooth so you don't have a lot of buildup right there by the furl. The metal part is the furl. Back up to the canvas, and let's make some other stems out here. Push down all the way to the furl, wiggle, wiggle, back and forth, up to the chiseled edge, to the middle of the leaf, and out. Now, if you wanted to, I'm just going to stay right up there on the canvas. I'm just going to pick up a little bit lighter paint. Now, if you want a longer leaf, draw your stem out, you push down, and you travel with it. Get my hand out of the way. You travel. Now see the dark on there? That's because I didn't clean my brush out and I picked up some more yellow. And let's go over here, and we'll do some more of those. So those are those little wiggle wiggle. That seems to mystify people so much when they see us do those so fast. So let's start another leaf. I'm just going to reach down here and pick up just any color, doesn't really matter, some yellow and green. And let's come up here, and we're going to do the long blade leaves that are we add to the composition. Sometimes they're in tropical paintings, tropical flowers. And this is where you start out on the chiseled edge, come up, press on the brush, and taper off. And it's all one continuous stroke. Now here's a mistake a lot of people make. They'll start out okay on the chiseled edge, then they'll flatten the brush and they'll dip down. And you'd be surprised how many people do that. So what do you have? You have little snakes all over the canvas. So you don't want a lot of little snakes. I'm going to reach for a little bit more medium and some more paint. Okay, so let's go through that one again. It's on the edge, chiseled edge, flatten, try to keep your wrist straight, and you can wiggle the tip just a little bit. Now if we were going to do a bunch of those, they would look like this maybe in a composition. You'd group them together, maybe one this way, and you see Gary and I do those many, many times. Those are the long tropical blade leaves. Very simple. Simple once you've practiced. I'm going to reach down for some more paint. And let's pick up a little orange this time and a little green and see what we get. Okay, now here's that big rose leaf. This up here, the little wiggle wiggle leaf we put in a lot of the rose paintings and a lot of the other flower paintings. But now let's do that big broad leaf. When you're starting out, it's a good idea to draw the leaf in. Like say here's it's shaped kind of like a little, maybe a little heart. Here would be the stem. It's pointing down. This is where it connects to the stem is what we call the base of the leaf. Down here, the point, that's the tip of the leaf. Now there's a real definite system to doing this, and if you do this, it comes out great. So if you want to sketch in your leaves when you're doing, say, a composition of a whole bunch of them, before you paint them all in, so that way you know where they're going to go in the painting. It's easier to take out a sketch than the whole leaf. Okay, so you press flat of the brush at the base of the leaf, and you fill in the middle and come to the point. Then you're going to angle your strokes. I'm going to show you the angle. Back toward the base of the leaf, and at the same time coming toward the center of the leaf. I'm going to reach down for a little bit lighter color. Okay, let's go. And we're going to angle now toward the middle of the leaf. And the real important thing is pushing down and lifting up. See that stroke? Push down, lift up, push down, lift up. If I just pushed down and stayed down and then lifted up at the middle of the leaf, that's what you'd get as a hard edge. So it's real, this stroke, the sweeping in stroke is so important. And this is the stroke that we do the flowers with also, that sweep. Very, very important. So let's go back up to this leaf. And we're going to, let's see if I can get my hand out of here. Maybe on the other side of the leaf you'll be able to see it better. We're going to press and lift, press and lift, press and lift. Let's come down to the tip. The other side, press, lift, press, lift, press, lift. And there's your leaf. Let's do another one. Fill in your center, flat of the brush, come to the point. Remember the angle of the strokes. See that? Press, lift, press, lift, press, lift. Press. Now, if you want to leave a little break in your leaf, you leave a little space before you start the next stroke. And the other strokes are really pretty much overlapped about halfway. Then you can come through and draw a little vein. Now, if you were to highlight this, let's put some blue. Let's get some blue and white. And let's put a little bit of a highlight. Now, you don't come all the way to the middle with your stroke. Now, when you put the highlight on, you're going to press hard on the outside edge, press and lift. And you see us, you know how we tint those leaves a lot? You can put little tips on them. Okay, let's try, let's try one more. I'm just grabbing any color. There's such pretty colors down here. And let's try another one. Come down, wiggle to the point, because this is a very, very important leaf. And we'll do the other side. And let's pick up some highlight. Let's pick up some white this time. And like when you're doing a composition and you have all kinds of leaves, you don't want to have spaces in between all of them. There's going to be places like this where you're going to be overlapping in your painting. Leaves don't just grow up to each other in the garden or in a bouquet and go, whoa, I better stop. I'm going to crash into that other leaf. So don't be afraid to overlap leaves. But then sometimes you'll say, well, one overlaps the other and the edge doesn't show up, or one doesn't show up in front of the other. So that's where you hit your highlight color, is maybe bring one out in front of the other. You see that? Now you see that one. And we can go up the other side a little bit. And sometimes they have a little vein through the middle. So that is a very, very important leaf. And I hope you get to watch some of the other shows that we do, because especially the one I'm going to do one on petals or floral techniques, and we're going to do all kinds of beautiful flowers. We'll get as many in as we can in the half-hour show. I won't be able to do all of them. There'll be a lot more in the technique tape. But I want to show you what we're going to be doing in one of the other shows, one of the other technique shows. There you see we're going to try to do a poppy. We've got hydrangea, marigolds, roses, petunias, just all kinds of things. And then I'm going to be doing daisies and lilacs, just as many things as we can, delphiniums, all these little flowers that are important as little filler flowers or your main composition flowers. So technique is real, real important. There's the lilacs, the tulips, and the daisies, and all kinds of little wildflowers. So I think you're going to have fun learning these strokes. And once you learn the technique strokes, you're going to feel much, much more confident about going in and starting one of these paintings, and you'll just be doing it in no time, and it's really fun to practice the strokes. We practice a lot on, when I was just starting, I was practicing on canvas, but a lot of times it's pretty expensive to burn up a lot of canvases just practicing strokes. So what you might want to get, you can get masonite and practice on. You can gesso it a whole bunch of times and then sand it in between coats and get it real smooth, and that gives a lot of detail. So you can practice on masonite panels. You can practice on palette paper, disposable palette paper, or what else? Let's see, canvas boards. And they're a lot less expensive to practice on. So those are some other ideas. You don't have to use the expensive stretched canvas to practice your strokes on. So let's see, what else can we do? Okay, let's try some ferns. Let's see if we can get some ferns. I'm picking up some sienna and green. Again, it doesn't really matter. And this is, I'm still using the same brush, but I am going to try to switch to another brush in a minute. Okay, if we were going to do some ferns or some, one of the paintings I'm doing is poinsettia, the Christmas flower, and we're going to have some pine tree boughs in it, or Christmas greenery. So this is almost the same thing. You'd start out with a stem, or not a stem, the middle of the branch, I guess it would be. And you just take the sharp, chiseled edge of the brush, and you're going to come from the middle and work out. And you know, you can't see it, but I'm still kind of doing that. Push down. Let's do it down here. Push down and lift up stroke. Push down and lift up. And so where you push down first is where you get the wider stroke, and then you lift up and it comes to a point automatically. I'm going to pick up a little more paint, and let's do this again. Come on in real close. There we go. Now try not to make these all really perfect. Now this is what we would see as a mistake in class. I'll show you here in a second. They come to a point on the end is where people, they do their middle of their branch just fine, and then they would, I'd say, put some little strokes in to give the pine needles, I guess they are, and everybody would go like this. Well, of course, when you're learning, you want to get it right. You're afraid to mess it up, so you do it just perfect, just perfect. Oh, everybody would say, see, I did those little pine needles, aren't they wonderful? Well, you know, they're not bad, but sometimes nature, even if they were that perfect in nature, nature is too perfect. And so you want to make it more natural looking and a little bit looser. So we would just twist and turn these a little bit different, overlap them, mess them up a little. Gary or I would come along in class and just mess up your canvas to get you to loosen up. Because once you learn these techniques, you have to paint loose, and that's what gives it a real natural look. Okay, I'm going to pick up another brush. This one is the little tiny filbert brush. I don't know if you can see this. Show it to you close up again. And there it is. This is a number 8. And it's a teeny little filbert brush. We also have the larger one, remember, a 10 or a 12. And they all do different things. And let's see if we can do some leaves with filbert brush. And we'll put in a little stem. Now you can make a little skinny stem just with these guys too, by just not pressing down too much, using the tip. I'm going to reach down for some more paint. Now we can do all kinds of those. Remember those little wiggle wiggle leaves that we did? This is the same thing, but these, whoops, you don't want long tips like that. So watch your tips. Little, I'll do it real slow, that wiggle wiggle up and out, wiggle wiggle up and out, wiggle wiggle up and out. And sometimes you would just want some little tiny filler. And they twist and turn. Usually they end up with a point. And that's that little teeny filler. And let's see what else we can do. Okay, I'm going to show you about double loading your brush. Now this happens a lot of times accidentally. If you don't clean your brush in between colors, if you say you had some green in your brush, let's get some more green, and we didn't wash that out with, rinse it out with the turp, and you just went down, you wanted to pick up some yellow, or, well, say you change your mind, you want some red. And you see Gary do this sometimes. He'll dip down into his palette and he'll say, let's pick up a little red, let's pick up a little yellow, let's pick up a little pink, and we just have garbage here on the brush. Well, it's not really garbage, it's pretty garbage, but it's everything, and we'll see what happens and see if we can do some leaves with these. So let's make some of those little wiggle wiggle leaves. Now watch this. I'm going to press down, come in real close, wiggle wiggle, up and out. I don't know if you can see that. See all those little colors? Let's get some more yellow and some more white. Make it a little lighter. Look at this. And people think you went in there and did all these colors and painted each one of those little colors one at a time. But it is really painting what we call is with a dirty brush painting, dirty brush paint. And that's by not rinsing out your paint in between colors. Okay, let's play with the Twiggy brush here. Come on down to the palette. We call it a twiggy. A lot of people that do paint ships or boats, they do the mast rigging, and they call these riggers. So, and I call them twiggies. A lot of landscape painters call them twiggies because we do twigs on trees. Can't talk. And we do grass with them, so they're called all sorts of stuff. But really, they're called a script brush. So if you go looking for one of these brushes, it's best to call it a script brush. And you get your paint really, really thin, a lot of medium, and then you kind of roll it to a point before you start. And make sure there's not a lot of excess paint. And it's really thin, almost like a ink consistency. And let's come on up to, we're running out of space, but we'll find some space over here. Now, a lot of times we'll put just as filler little twiggies or tendrils or vines in our painting. So this is really simple. And you just, by using the tip, let me get my hand out of the way, I'm just reaching for more paint. You see how that can make very fine lines? You can make little curly cues, but make sure your paint is really, really thin. Now again, I'm just reaching for more paint. If you press heavy, hard on this tip, you see what you're going to get? Well, sometimes you might want a twig, a real thick twig coming out of a bouquet of flowers. But generally, you want to keep it really, really thin. And another thing is make sure you lift up and away on the stroke at the end. Don't just come out and stop, or you're going to get a blunt end. And all twigs and tree branches and everything, remember, have this little fade away to nothing stroke. So that's by pulling away on the brush as you pull away from the canvas and you lift up on the pressure. So let's try another leaf. What shall we do now? Okay, let's pick up some blue, kind of bluish color. How about some of this cinnabar green? It's a pretty color. And I'm going to reach for some more medium. And let's go way up over here. Okay. We'll do another one. We're going to put the stems in. Place some stems. That's a wild color. Oh, I know. Just stay right up there on the canvas with me. I'm going to switch brushes. This is one we haven't used yet. And this is our little liner. Sable round brush. Now see, this one has shorter hairs. Unlike the twiggy or the script brush that has the real long hairs, this one has shorter hairs. And we're going to come up here to the stem, and we're going to push down and then taper off. Push down and taper off. Lift up. Push down. Whoops, can't see that one. Try to keep my hand out of the way. It's not always possible, but whoop, and push down and lift up. I'm going to reach down for some more paint. Now catch that again. It's push down heavy where it's connected and lift up. Now when you get really confident with these strokes, you're going to be able to do these really fast. And the faster you do it, the looser it makes you paint. So you will get more and more confident the more you practice. But that's the idea. Well, it looks like time is up today. Boy, it sure goes fast. Well, I tried to show you as many things as I could in the amount of time, so we're going to get into a lot more. The next show, don't forget, we're going to do flowers and all kinds of petals. So I'm really glad you could join us, and take care of each other and be good to each other, and don't forget to watch next week's. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Wilt u ook leren schilderen als Gary Jenkins? Bestel dan dit prachtige boek, vol met praktische schildertips en schitterende voorbeelden. Deze unieke uitgave heeft u al in huis voor €34,50. Ook kunt u voor dezelfde prijs een dvd bestellen waarop Gary stap voor stap uitlegt hoe u zijn schildertechnieken kunt leren. Kijk voor alle bestelinformatie op omroepmax.nl of teletextpagina 332.